If you're like me and played games throughout most of your life, whether you were on console or PC, you obviously know that there are two types of games that you can play. Single player or multiplayer. Single player or offline games usually just involve you, and sometimes your friends. But we'll talk more about that later. Single player games grant you an experience through their story, gameplay, and the impact it'll have on you by its end, either emotionally or spiritually. While multiplayer games are just games for people who like to torture themselves both mentally and maybe physically. Okay, I'm joking. Not every multiplayer game feels like that. Mostly.
You can't expect to win them all.
Both single player and multiplayer offer different experiences. In some cases, both offering the same thing. But if single player is mostly targeted towards the narrative driven, and multiplayer is targeted towards the competitive and engaging, then which one is better? Today I'm going to try and answer that question. Keep in mind, this is coming from someone who spent enough time on both sides to come to a mostly obvious conclusion. But remember, this is just my opinion. I'm not here to put down one or the other. I'm just here to give you an entertaining video while discussing my overall experience and thoughts from years of playing single player and multiplayer games. Let's get started. Starting off with single player games. Now, I'm not trying to be biased, but single player games are better. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. No. Let me explain. Single player games are already an advantage due to the freedom to play at your own pace. There's no lobbies, no waiting, no competition with anyone else. It's just you and the game. Like I said before, there are two types of people in this world, the narrative driven and the competitive. Now those who are narrative driven read, watch, or in this case, play games for the story, taking a liking to the gameplay while progressing through the story. Let me ask you something though. What do you think makes a person who they are, besides things like the environment and the people they surround themselves with? The answer is experience. Events they go through in life, or in today's age, through stories. Not everyone has an exciting life or the same lifestyle as a person next to them, let alone have the opportunity to experience something you would see in a movie, compared to a world that has already been conquered and tamed. Experience is now mostly obtained through stories, something that can never run out, and if executed right, can mold a person. Look at games like Red Dead Redemption, God of War, the Souls series, and much more. To those who played those games, what did they make you feel? Whether you were enjoying the open world, amazing story, or triumph, how did you feel? Did you feel like you wanted to throw your controller at the wall because of something you couldn't control? Or did you feel like you needed to become a better person? After watching a seemingly unredeemable man find peace in death, after helping those around him to find better lives, after realizing his would be over sooner than he thought? What about witnessing the crimes of humanity in the conquest of a country? Not just from the conquerors, but also from the ones who were being conquered. The lengths they would go to, the things they had to sacrifice just to protect their people and way of life. What about the experience you, the player, would have? What about your experience in trying to right the wrongs in a world that has already basically fallen, while trying to overcome those very things that brought the world to its knees? Things that were not easy and took lots of time and patience from you. Yet you ended up succeeding in the end. What about that experience? You're telling me that this is better than this?
We're thieves in a world that don't want us no more.
Stay strong. Stay with me.
I don't have it in me no more.
I wish things were different. It would mean a lot to me.
But it weren't us who changed. We are 80 samurai against an army. You will never leave this island. I trained you to fight with honor. Honor died on the beach. You have no honor, and you are a slave to it. I am not your son. I am the ghost.
I'm a god, boy.
I made a deal with the god that cost me my soul. I killed many who were deserving, and many who were not. But the truth is, I was born a god, and so were you.
I don't know about you, but these games can give you an experience like no other. An experience to make you feel like you were in the story and had an impact on it. There were no outside factors or limiters to ruin the experience. It was just you, the narrative, the memory, and now the lesson or clarity you just obtained. This is what makes single player games so good. Not their cool gameplay or graphics, it's the impact they had on the person who decided to play it. That is why I think single player games are better than multiplayer games. But that doesn't mean multiplayer doesn't have value of its own. I made a mistake at the beginning of the video. I made it seem that multiplayer games are just frustrating and competitive, and also doesn't just have games that you can play with multiple people. I apologize for that. I'm just so used to playing and dealing with stuff like this that I completely forget the memorable side of the genre. Real quick, let me talk about why this is how I see most multiplayer games. Multiplayer itself has had a famous track record of being extremely toxic and competitive. The majority of the genre is mostly tied to PvP gameplay, facing others in an online game, which already automatically comes with its downsides. Like the reliance on others for enjoyment, the rise of meta shifts and future patches that could ruin the game. So that means if the game you're playing relies a lot on teamwork, it's gonna get frustrating and toxic really fast if enjoyment or, God forbid, a rank is on the line, and one or more of your teammates isn't pulling their weight. The whole point of games like Marvel Rivals and Dead by Daylight is to work together and win against the other team, and if you play those games, you should already know what I'm talking about. But particularly with Dead by Daylight, it is a bit more complicated. Dead by Daylight has one of the most controversial game balances probably ever. There are two sides, one with one killer, the other with 4 survivors, whose goal is to fix 5 gens, while the killer is trying to, well, kill them. Throughout the years, there have been constant patches to try and even the playing field for both sides. In the beginning, being completely survivor-sided due to all the major glitches and exploits that were eventually fixed and removed, but the game would continue going through the cycle of constant patches to remove and buff one side or the other, but every time it has never been even, with new metas being born and buffs going to the side that is suffering because of that meta. It's been going on for years with constant back and forth complaining from both sides. Due to the unattainable balance, DBD has become very toxic, and may never be balanced at all. Patches like the ones present in DBD can make or break a multiplayer game. Another notoriously bad thing about multiplayer is how it is ruined not only by toxic people and the inability to achieve balance, but also how greedy the companies in it are. Every single new hit multiplayer game always has a battle pass and with time tries to incorporate pay to win and microtransactions, and every time it fails, and they end up scaring away anyone who actually liked their game. Yet there are still companies out there who manage to execute the idea of a battle pass perfectly, without the idea of a pay to win, focusing on play to win. Look at Marvel Rivals. They have constant challenges and quests to complete, so you can keep leveling up said battle pass. Just from playing, some of the challenges require certain characters to complete them, forcing those who want to finish the battle pass to play new characters, which in turn inspires variety. Dead by Daylight took inspiration from them and remade their whole quest and battle pass system nearly identical to Rivals, and now you can almost fly through the battle pass, in a good way. It's not so fast that you don't have to try, but good enough to make progress if you spend a decent amount of time grinding. It has been well known that the greater part of PvP multiplayer games with battle passes and pay to win mechanics are always flawed, almost to the idea itself. But like I said before, not all multiplayer games are like that. On the other side, there are games mainly built on PvE, player versus enemy, or player versus AI, turning multiplayer into an experience of pure enjoyment. Probably one of the best examples of this is Helldivers 2. Helldivers is an open world horde shooter that depends on the actions of the community in attacking and defending planets in the name of democracy. It is completely built on the player base to the point that they decide where the story goes. Helldivers 2 is an experience based solely on its gameplay, but the multiplayer is what gives it its soul. The community is completely loyal to Super Earth and democracy. Like seriously, the propaganda from this game was enough to get almost 500,000 people to play, and that's just on Steam. The developers from Arrowhead were not expecting it to be such a success with the propaganda and unique take on a horde shooter compared to the first Helldivers, but Helldivers 2 ended up being such a hit that Arrowhead had to make more servers because all the ones they had at launch were completely full. Almost no one can get in. Helldivers 2 is so good not only in terms of gameplay, but in terms of uniting people, just so they can defend liberty and democracy. Not only that, but the game has only been available on PC and PlayStation. so everyone on Xbox has been missing out on the hype, and yet, as of now, Xbox is actually going to be joining. Keep in mind, Helldivers 2 is a PlayStation exclusive, and it's coming to Xbox. This game is so good at uniting people, it's even able to stop the console wars. Then again, I'm not sure if that's still a thing, I don't know. I'm just happy that Xbox is joining us. Helldivers 2 doesn't just entice you with its cinema and extreme gameplay. Okay, maybe it does. I mean, look at this shit. But back to what I was saying, Helldivers 2 is one example, like many others, that are built on a PvE community. And yet it's one of the most successful games in a while. It's proof that you don't need your multiplayer game to be PvP based to be successful. So far, it seems that multiplayer doesn't seem to be better from single player at all, from what I said. Yes, there are diamonds in the rough, but it still doesn't seem like enough to go against the impact and experience you can get from single player. However, there is one ace that multiplayer has up its sleeve that can almost rival the emotion and impact of single player. If you play a multiplayer game with your friends, even frustrating ones, it's most likely that you would have had a good time regardless of its frustration, which brings me to the power of nostalgia. Nostalgia is one of the most powerful feelings ever, being a longing for a time when life almost seemed perfect, remembering those times when you used to hang out with your friends all day every day. Playing with your friends on a game like Minecraft is an entire experience in itself, but it eventually just becomes a distant memory as you continue on with life and eventually fall out of touch with said friends. This applies to all games, not just Minecraft. All the time you spent with your friends on any type of multiplayer game, PvE, PvP, whatever game you guys spent the most time on, it will eventually end. Nostalgia like this creates an impact almost as strong as the extreme attachment to losing or gaining the beauty and art of a single player game, leaving you with that feeling and memory of a time you will never probably get to experience ever again. So, which is better, single player or multiplayer? I don't think there's an exact answer. It may seem that single player is the clear winner, and it may be, but I think it all comes down to what you prefer. I've always preferred and liked single player games, due to the amazing impact it can have on you, and yet I've also enjoyed the thrill of a multiplayer game. I've played enough of both to know each of their values and flaws, but it all depends on what you like best. If you think single player is better due to its impact on a person, cool, I can see why. If you think multiplayer is better even with its sea of flaws, that's okay too. But there's always value present, even with such a tainted reputation, such as the nostalgia created from the good times you thought would never end. So, I think the better one is the one that gives you the most enjoyment and impact, regardless of its flaws. Hey everyone, thanks for making it to the end of the video. You should consider liking and subscribing while you're here, if you want to see more of my content, as I would like to soon reach 1,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. Well, thanks for watching, my name is Solarflare, and I'll see you guys next time.